Timeless recruiting tactics. They still work. This is the Recruit Me Athletic Scholarship Podcast, episode number 184. Welcome to the longest running podcast on recruiting and athletic scholarships. I'm Jon Fugler, a scholarship coach and a dad of 2 scholarship athletes. I'm also the CEO of Recruit Me. I'm a podcaster, author, and speaker. And the sponsor is my brand new, just released, yes, really just released athletic scholarship recruiting planner and journal deluxe edition, 24 months. It's your personal go-to all-in-one resource for a successful recruiting experience. And I'm exhausted as I say that because it's been an exhausting ride. I'll tell you more about that. Hey, let's get into this podcast. It's 15 minutes that will change your scholarship future. So I dig in. Give you takeaways you can use immediately. Hey, by the way, you can find every episode on your favorite podcast app and also on my website, recruitme.com. So listen in, subscribe on your podcast app. Make sure you get it every Tuesday. I got to tell you, Tuesday's almost done, but I made it again. Hit my deadline. I'm here for you. And not bragging about it. I'm just kind of going, whoa. Hey, Tuesday's almost done, and John, you got to get this podcast up. So I got to take it from my notes and put it in podcast form. So that's what I'm doing now. We're talking about timeless recruiting tactics. They still work. And I'm going to go through some of these, and I want to share with you just to let you know that some of these things that we've been doing for years, they're still current, even though things change. Technology changes. You got other means of doing this recruiting thing. However, getting back to the basics, that helps. And there are certain things that you can do that still work and are really powerful. I mentioned that my recruiting planner and journal is out. It's out on Amazon. Finally, they fixed their problem and you can get it. I'm going to have a book release party coming up in the next week. I'm going to do it live on Facebook, so it'll be video, Facebook Live, and do a special podcast episode and go through some of the things in there and how they can help you out just to celebrate together. I also have drawings, so you can win yourself one of the planner and journals. You can win yourself an athletic scholarship playbook as well. So we're going to really celebrate, and I'll get to that in just a few days. So we're excited. The holdup is over. Amazon, the power went back on, and hey, they got this thing out, and I'm rejoicing. 350 pages. This thing is, I'll tell you, it is going to be the resource that athletes and parents use across the board, whether you're doing it yourself or you have help, or whether you're part of a service, whatever. This thing will help you no matter how you are going through the process, whether you're doing it on your own or with other people. This is the tool that's going to work for you. But let's go ahead and get into this week's episode and some things that I'll share with you that, in fact, I'm going to share some of these things on Thursday night. I've got an interview with WCCO on the sports show, CCO Radio in Minneapolis, Twin Cities. That'll be on the air this Central Time, 7:30 or so p.m., that I'll be on Thursday night. Looking forward to that. And as I've thought about what I could share with that audience, I want to share with you in advance here because you're my podcast audience. There are things that you can do and you should do. These are non-negotiables as way of tactics. You've got strategies, which are overarching, and you have tactics which fall under strategies. For instance, taking the initiative is a strategy. That's also timeless, but that's a strategy. Want to take the initiative, and the tactics that make that strategy happen, that execute that strategy, those are tactics, the steps that you take. And so I want to give you 3 tactics here that will help you out. The first one is, I guess it's kind of cross between a tactic and a strategy, but I just say it out right here. You've got to put it in writing. So that first one is put it in writing. You want to compete at a school, you're interested in a school, a program. You can't just wish. You can't just even making a phone call. There's one of the things you can do that you need to continue to do through the process is you need to put it in writing. And this has been the way it's been for for years, for decades. When I was seeking an athletic scholarship, what I did is I wrote to a school, sent that mail through U.S. Postal Service. That was a way to do it. A packet. I sent newspaper articles. But man, I made a statement to that coach that I was interested. I put it in writing. There's something about putting it in writing so the coach sees it, that you express your intentions. That is a timeless tactic. So I guess maybe that's a strategy, but here's some examples of that. For instance, you want to put a resume together, that solid one-page resume that you're sending to coaches. You want to put that in writing. You want to email it to coaches. I put it in the mail. My kids put it in the mail, but you want to put it in the email, but you want to get it to coaches. Put it in writing. Speaking of email, so sending a letter, you're sending an email these days, but you're putting it in writing. You're expressing your intention to the coach. There's no guesswork. Be clear. Be enthusiastic. Let coaches know that you are interested in their school. Put it in writing. Even if you make a phone call and leave a message, that's not as impactful and as clear as putting it in writing. And you put it in writing, the coaches can hang on to it, and that's permanent. You make a phone call, it comes and goes, they listen, they delete. You got to put it in writing. Sending updates along the way, showing that you're interested. That's a tactic that still works. Let coaches know after that initial contact, even a few months down the road, even a year, you're sending updates in writing. It lands in their email box, clearly states that you are still interested. So put it in writing. Don't make coaches guess. Don't make them wonder if you really are interested. And make that connection between, the guy on the phone, who was that? Let me check my records here. We're going to talk about the phone in a minute here, but you need to have something in writing so they can connect. There's something about having it in writing. So that's number one. That tactic has been around since the beginning of recruiting, and it continues. It still works. Second thing that you need to do, that's visit schools. I might sound like a broken record, but I have to say it. I have to include it in this episode. That is a tactic that is timeless. It's a timeless recruiting tactic. It still works. We've got our digital age. Everything's virtual. But man, when you show up in 3D at the school, in the coach's office, when you take that tour, when you spend a couple hours or a half a day or even a full day, you're saying to the coach that I am interested. It's worth my time to be there. You can't do that with every school. You can't be running around the country, spending all the money to see these schools, but there are some that you can. And I got to tell you, I still hear it. Coaches still say that a visit is powerful. And they get a chance to interact with you with them, you and your parents. It's that 3D experience, and you leave an impression. They will never forget you if you make that school visit and have some good quality time with one of the coaches on the staff. Visit schools, make that part of your strategy, make that a tactic. It still works. The third thing, and I mentioned the phone, call coaches. This still works too. It's not the only thing you want to do. These things that I'm explaining to you about tactics that are timeless and still work, it's not like you just pick one and do it. There are a number of them. There are more beyond the ones I'm sharing here. But call coaches. Let them know you're still interested. Let them know that you are one who is pursuing their school. If you already have the relationship going, a call every once in a while solidifies that relationship. It keeps it going. And most of the time, you're going to have to leave a message, but that's okay. Check their voicemail. You've already put it in writing. You've already let them know solidly that you are who you are, and you've sent them information. But calling coaches has an impact. You can use this tactic, for instance, if you send an email to a coach with your intro packet and you haven't heard back. Call the coach. Remind him or her that you've sent that, who you are, what date did you send it, and that you're interested in the school. Please get back to me. That raises the level. It supports what you're doing in writing. See, all these things work together. Can you imagine if you put it in writing and you visit the school and you contact the coach by phone every once in a while? Man, that comes together. That's 1 + 1 + 1 = 50. It really is cumulative. They build on each other. You're multiplying your efforts. So I encourage you to do that. Call coaches not just to bother them, but call them with substance to let them know, hey, coach, I just want to know I'm still interested. Are you still interested in me? Maybe you have an update to give them, and you can give that to them verbally, then follow it up in writing. Put it in writing. I mentioned earlier, sending updates. But these things coming together, these are timeless. When I was, I'm not going to tell you how long ago, but when I was trying to get a scholarship, I did these things. I visited schools. I even at that time did a couple tryouts. You could do that back then. You can still do it in the NAIA. I put it in writing. I initiated contact and let these coaches know by letters that I was interested. The third thing of calling coaches, I was an introvert. I still am an introvert, and I don't believe I made any outgoing calls. That was a mistake. I should have climbed out of my shell, and I would encourage you to make those phone calls to coaches. When our kids were going through this about 20 years ago, yeah, we put it in writing. That was a big deal. We sent out that intro packet. We sent out that email. We sent out updates. These things were in writing. Coaches knew who our kids were. They could refer to them. They could keep a file on them. We visited a handful of schools, and that was the next step to really get to know a coach. And they called coaches a little bit, but not as much as they should have. I think that's something that's really lost, contacting coaches by phone. I might add here, parents, the coaches don't want to hear from you. They want to know that your son or daughter is interested in the program. So make sure you call them. These are 3 timeless tactics that you can use in recruiting. I want to encourage you to take these to heart and begin doing them. There are a couple tools that you know about. I've talked about these before. I've got my Athletic Scholarship Playbook, a complete college recruiting roadmap for high school athletes and parents. That's on Amazon. And of course, the new Athletic Scholarship Recruiting 24-month planner and journal. That's brand new. That's on Amazon. It's out there for a reduced price, an intro price. So check both of those things out. You can even preview them, do the look inside, because you take these tactics, and in the playbook, I explain exactly what to do, even more to work those out. And in the planner, you get to plan it out, set your goals, document, and make progress. You can see the progress develop. There's nothing, like I said, like that first principle, there's nothing like putting it in writing, not just for the coach, but for yourself. Taking it and writing down your intentions, your goals, your results, your progress, your thoughts, and that's what can happen in the planner and journal. Well, I hope that helps you as we discuss these 3 things today. Is there a question on your mind? Is there something that's burning at you? What's your biggest recruiting challenge? Send me your question. I'd like to talk about that on the podcast. I have done that several times, and I want to open that up again for listeners to send me an email. Let me know what's on your mind, what questions you might have, and your question mirrors what other families are asking too. And I want to respond not only to you, but to them. So submit your question to me. Here's my email address. It's Jon, Jon, @recruitme.com. Jon @recruit-me.com. And Thursday night, if you're in the Twin Cities, about 7:30, I'll be on the air in WCCO, the sports program there. Well, take care. Talk to you next week.